Hi, this is Joe Rebelo. Welcome back to Martial Arts Today Television. And as we mentioned earlier, we're here with a very special guest, and we're really in a legendary location in relationship to martial arts. And that, of course, as we mentioned earlier, is Ninja World. And we're here with the owner, operator, and chief bottle washer of this wonderful facility, Dave Linsey. Dave, so great having you on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And I really appreciate being here. And the first question we always ask all our interviewees is, how'd you begin into martial arts?
How to begin in the martial arts? Back in 1975, my father had a grocery store inside Cranston. And a gentleman came in and asked to go and open on the second floor of my father's store, he asked to open a martial arts school. And he was Nick Serio's first black belt. His name was Jim Ricard. As that time went on, I decided to go and do it with my two other brothers. And I ended up staying there for a longer period of time than them, but as usual as a young child, I ended up stopping because I got a little bit more into power wrestling and then into hockey. And then later on, around 1981, I decided to go back into training inside Kumiyuchi Jiu-Jitsu under Rocco Perillo, who reopened in the same location as Jim Ricard did on the second floor of my father's store. I received my black belt in 1986 from the Kyudan Jiu-Jitsu Federation. Rocco Perillo guided me up to my Shodan level in that. And that's how I basically started my martial arts and where I got my first Shodan inside Jiu-Jitsu.
Wow! I didn't know about that. Again, for those familiar, again, Nick Serio, one of the legends in the Rhode Island area for the promotion of Kenpo karate, and then later his own system of Nick Serio's Kenpo, and of course Kumiyuchi Ryu, that many people are familiar through John Rubiano, and his legacy in regards to promoting it in the New England area and specifically in the Rhode Island area. Sure. Now, again, I know you through other martial arts though as well. Talk to me. I know first of all your study of Isshinryu, which is not a popular system, all things considered, in the Rhode Island area. How did you get involved in Isshinryu?
That's a very interesting story. Back in around 1987, I had my black belt inside Jiu-Jitsu. I was doing kickboxing at New England Taekwondo, where Jerry Potenza was. My friend Bob Morton was one of his students, one of his brown belts, and he needed someone to spar with. So I ended up going there to go and do some sparring, and I fought some gentleman who was way larger than me and older than me, and had a broken nose and, of course, 2 black eyes a week later. A gentleman came to my instructor's school, and I was introduced to him as Robert McKittrick from New Jersey, Bayonne, New Jersey. He was actually an ex-Jersey trooper. He just left the Jersey trooper to go and study neurology at Brown University. So when I met him, he asked me what happened to me. And I said, I kickbox. And he says, you don't kickbox, you're a catcher's mitt. So he goes, would you like to spar me? And I said, of course, I wanted to show this guy that I knew how to fight. So as we bowed in with each other, he basically was having a full conversation with my instructor and not paying attention to anything I was doing as I was trying to smash him.
Wow.
And he was doing nothing, and he would just only turn around and tell me, I'm going to roundhouse kick you in the face. And he'd hit me. And he was telling me exactly what he was going to do to me. Before he did it, and he wasn't even paying attention to me. He was just using peripheral vision, just blocking, just playing with me like a little girl. And after that, I was like overwhelmed, like, what the hell was this? And from there, I decided I wanted to pursue a different system I wanted to pursue karate. So I was looking for an instructor for a period of time, and they had the first Brown University Taekwondo/Karate Championships, which was sponsored by Gene Hong.
Hong, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, Bob McKittrick went to go and, because Brown University, even though he was 28 years of age, he was a freshman in college at Brown. He went to the Brown Taekwondo Club, and asked if he could go and train with them. And Gene Hong says, you can come train here, but you can't show what you have because I want my students to learn a bad technique. So Bob then said, okay, he bowed out of it, but his main objective was that he was going to go to his tournament, he was going to take grand champion of it. So Bob went to the tournament, and he fought throughout the thing. And can I go into the story, or do you want me to go into the story?
No, I want to hear. This is
okay.
This is fascinating.
There was a lot of people there, and one person had a little too much contact on another individual, and he used the F-bomb. And the head referee started screaming at him about using the F-bomb, but he wasn't saying the F-bomb, he was mad at himself. So my instructor said, why don't you calm down? Well, Bob McKittrick at the time said, why don't you calm down? You made a mistake. And then the guy says, do you know who you're talking to? So my instructor said, do you have your American Express card on you? So then everyone started laughing. So then everyone started laughing at him, laughing. And the person, because of his prowess inside the martial arts, Rhode Island martial arts, got very upset about that. So then they ended up starting getting a verbal confrontation. And then my instructor said, I will pluck the mustache hairs out of the left side of your face and shove them up your right nostril. So then they decided to go and get a henchman to go and beat up my instructor, or before the instructor. So they asked somebody to go and fight him. They pay his thing, and it was several high-ranking black belts in New England that approached this person, and this guy will fight anybody.
Sure.
You want me to use his name?
Sure, you bet.
Ed Gall. So Ed Gall went to spar my instructor, and they were sparring, but it got really, really heated.
Yeah.
Now, just remember, you have 5 judges, 4 corner judges and a center referee, who don't want my instructor to win.
Right.
Okay? So it got to a certain point that Ed got very upset, threw down his gloves, and he started to fight and started to go through the chairs.
Yep.
So my instructor grabbed him by the face and kissed him on his forehead.
Yep.
And then after that, my instructor won the grand championship of Brown University. And that's when I said, I want to train with him.
Yep.
And so then I had to go through the whole process of permission and running through and jumping over hurdles and jumping through hoops, because he was not really liking taking other students, especially ones that are his friends. So I asked my instructor's permission to do it. I had to maintain a certain specific period of time of training with my first instructor in jiu-jitsu to go train with Bob McKittrick. So then, after that period of time of doing it, both instructors agreed, and I started training with him at Brown University. So that's how I started with Isshinryu.
And the reason why I let him tell you the rest of that story, because I was there when it happened. That's why when you said Jihan in the first Brown, I was like, I was there.
Yeah.
And so I was like...
Do you remember that situation?
Yeah, it was quite volatile, to say
that
the
was my
least.
instructor, but having a guy come from New Jersey
Yeah.
and come up here and win when he had the odds are stacked against him.
Oh, yeah. But
and Ed Gall's a tremendous fighter, too. To beat Ed is
right,
phenomenal.
and
he's a tremendous martial
the
artist.
technique that was shown, and then how it denigrated to what it denigrated to, And this is what happened in the old, what year I was going to say?
It's about 87.
Yeah, because
86,
I was
87, yeah.
right,
yeah.
because it was one of the few times I was with Mr. Parker at the time, but I wasn't wearing my Ed Parker colors because it was a Taekwondo thing, and I was told to basically wear just a plain white wrapper and such.
Sure.
But yeah, so wow. So all right, so now we get into Isshinryu, and I consider you one of the Isshinryu historians in this area. You're very involved in Isshinryu and the history of Okinawan martial arts. But another aspect, and yet another art that you've been involved in, is the study of Professor V's lineage, and actually having trained directly with Florenzo Visitacion. How did all that come about?
That was an interesting story. Okay. My instructor, as I was saying, he was going through college, okay, and as they do, what I call a starving student. He needed money, so I asked him if he wanted me to go and put a seminar on for him, so host him for a seminar. So he said, that would be wonderful, I really appreciate it. So Bob McKittrick was, he was known for doing fingertip knockouts and all that stuff because he's all into anatomy. He ended up making some friends throughout his time span of martial arts, and just in the community in Rhode Island. He became friends with some people, and he met this gentleman, and I can't really say his name, who was friends with Richard Petronelli.
Okay.
So when I was doing the seminar, the gentleman came in, he paid for like 15 people to go to the seminar, as basically as people just watching. They weren't going to go and participate. All my students didn't actually have it on video. So we went through the seminar, and some of them participated, and a lot of them watched. And after that period of time, I bumped into Richard Petronelli after I went out to a restaurant with my friends, and he said, we started talking, and he asked me, invited me to come with him up to go meet Professor V, and because of the Kyudan Jiu-Jitsu Federation, which is a New York-based system, and so the higher levels did at one specific period of time train with Professor V, I was intrigued that I would have liked to actually have met the man. So then I had the privilege of going up to his house on White Plains Boulevard and Bronx and training at his house. So we did that we used to do that every Monday. We used to travel up there every Monday to train with him.
Wow.
So,
And I was very fortunate to actually see some footage of you and Professor Petronelli training with Professor V, and that was an incredible honor. Again, for those of you who are regular watchers of our program, Martial Arts Today TV, you will see actually someone on YouTube has taken a portion of the episode, and later on we're going to put it on YouTube and air it again through our cable systems with our interview, which actually sadly was the final television interview ever done with Professor V. And as he said, and I loved his it was a man at 85, I'm 84 and a half, like a small 6-year-old child talking about his age and his childlike innocence, but then the devastating techniques that this man would demonstrate, and walking the body and walking the face with pressure point manipulations. And it wasn't until years later that when I finally saw the ESPY series of videotapes with David James, because I mentioned Ed Parker, and his eyes lit up and he was like, Ed Parker, I love Ed Parker. And I didn't realize how much he loved the Kenpo system until I was watching these videos, and here's Professor V doing Ed Parker's technique, 5 swords, as a foundation of his system. Blew my mind. And you're truly blessed to have the opportunity to work with him and train with him. This is only a small sample of your martial arts career. Can you go over some of that and talk about some of the different systems that you've studied and you've enjoyed over the years?
Well, I've done Isshinryu, Kumiyuchi Jiu-Jitsu. I trained with a gentleman named William Madison inside of what was called Tenryu Bujitsu Kenjutsu, which was more of a thing. If you actually research, what's interesting is you'll see of it actually inside the Netherlands, the Dutch, because they were the really only ones that were able to go and do Japan. So it was interesting to see that actually there's Tenryu Bujitsu. When I started watching some techniques, which I saw on YouTube, they're identical to what my instructor showed me.
Wow.
He ended up becoming a Buddhist monk, a Korean Buddhist monk.
Wow.
And met a nun. This was up inside the Providence Monastery, who was from, let's see, what is it? What is the, I want to say Kosovo or something. But he ended up having to go back there because if you don't keep her parents were passed away. And if you don't stay there, you lose your land.
Right.
So he moved to Asia. And that was the last time I saw him. That was about in 2000 and.
So again, we were talking about your martial arts career, and we were talking about the Tenryu Kenjutsu. And now, what other arts have you done besides that as well?
Weichi Karate. I trained with Paul Gregson, who actually worked for me. We've been long friends. He's actually a black belt under me inside Isshinryu.
Sure.
I met him through my old dojo. He came up and we started training. And then after that, I said, "Can you show me some stuff inside Weichi-Ryu?" And I found it to be very interesting, and so started delving into that. And then our relationship has blossomed over many years. We used to have a dojo up in Warren, Rhode Island, which was done, and it was called East Bay Martial Arts. And with that period of time, Robert Morton was my partner, and I ended up forfeiting over my half because I just got too busy in life. So we used to go up there on Saturdays and train, and we were trying to delve into more of a Kobudo perspective, and there was a thing called the American Karate Kobudo Association, which was of, I think it was of Tom Sells or something.
Sure.
And he, and we reached out to him, and he said that he had a person that was inside Massachusetts, Cambridge, Massachusetts, named Robert Padilla, who was from New Mexico, who trained with him under Arshiguro Oyakawa. So he ended up used to come up to Warren all the time and work with us, and I learned the Kobudo system of them, which was a fascinating Okinawa Kobudo system. Actually, Oyakawa was the one that did the Bubishi, to break down the Bubishi, right, with George Alexander.
Right.
In that one. So
wow.
So I used to go and do that, and he had like a lot of Hakusuru kata that was learned from a woman that showed him. So, and he also trained under Robert Trias. So there was some interesting, unique forms from that time span too inside Kobudo that he showed us also. So.
Well, for our viewers, Kobudo, which comes from the term Kobujitsu, the ancient martial arts is normally a reference to weaponry of the Okinawan tradition, Ryukyu Kobudo. And we were talking about the Hakusuru. The Hakusuru is the white crane katas that are depicted in many Okinawan karate systems, and normally some of the more advanced katas taught within those curriculums.
Yes.
Now, of course, the big thing is we are here at Ninja World. And Ninja World is a bastion of martial arts supply company, store I should say, in the Rhode Island area for many, many years. So obviously the question comes to mind, how did you get involved and how did you first find out about Ninja World?
Well, I was just starting in jiu-jitsu. in 1981. So 1982 is when actually Don Benedetto, who opened the store, opened over near Brian's Lawnmower, which was on Warwick Avenue. The place was like a 10 by 10. It was almost like a garage or a shed that he was in. And one of my friends said that, hey, a place opened up called Ninja World over on Warwick Avenue. It was semi-close to Patuxent Village where my father's store was. So I went over to see it. And you know, he had like one little itsy bitsy case with like 8 shurikens in it, a little bit of uniforms and stuff. But he also used to sell at a flea market in Pawtucket.
Oh,
And
okay.
and then he started realizing it because he had friends, David Arundel, Nick Serio, Danny Zabo, Don Benedetto was friends with them, and so he decided to start to delve into the martial arts business. So he opened up a business, and he used to travel to New York to Honda Imports once a week. I think it was on Mondays or something. He used to go up there once a week and go there, and then he started having a relationship with Asian World and he had a truck, so he used to go and do that once a week and buy all these supplies before really starting to delve into getting UPS and getting shipments in all the time.
Wow.
You know, so the thing started expanding, and then he moved down the road on Warwick Avenue to a larger place, and he used to actually have ninjutsu being taught down the basement. Some guy used to teach ninjutsu down the basement of it,
Wow.
and Bob Matthews used to teach Tai Chi down the
Chi.
basement. Yep. So after that period of time happened, he decided he had to expand even better, so he moved to Airport Plaza, to a bigger place. And so what I used to do is back in the Warwick Avenue one, on my days off, on Saturdays, I didn't have to work. I used to hang out all the time. So he used to take off, and I used to hang around with one of the guys that worked there. His name was John Remka, and we used to just clean the place and just do stuff. And Don, I became good friends with Don, and we'd go for different things. And then after a period of time, he then ended up asking me. I was doing some other work, and John started to go on with another career, and he asked me if I wanted to work part time. So I used to just work part time with him for a little while, and but I was also had a regular job. And he had several other workers with him also, and Mark, the guy's name was Mark. And after that period of time, I started working a little bit more, and he was getting to a certain point in the mid-2000s that he wanted to start to retire from there. He was liking more and more of Florida. So we ended up coming up with an agreement, and I ended up purchasing it approximately 10 years ago. And it was on it was on Post Road, and then I bought a building on Warwick Avenue, and I sold that last year, and I moved over to try to get closer to the highway on Main Avenue in Warwick. So that's basically it.
Wow.
for the history of it.
Now, when we talked last time, you told me a very interesting story about the first time you ever came to Ninja World. Tell me this story and regale our viewers about this first experience.
Which experience? So many.
I believe it's a very alarming experience.
Oh yes, I was going to tell that earlier. Yes, well, I went to that little garage, basic Ninja World, and I pulled on the door, and the alarm went off on it because it was this little itsy bitsy alarm that was on a stool that had 2 floodlights on it, and started making a squealing noise. And so basically, I was horrified, and I tried to get the hell out of there because I thought I was going to get arrested. But it was just like a door sensor that he had on that. Yeah, that was the first time I met Don.
I love that
Yeah.
story.
Oh boy.
When we talk about the tenure of Ninja World, and really, this location has been a who's who of visitors. I mean, you name the martial arts celebrity, if they were in the New England area, sooner or later they came by Ninja World, and
Yes.
we were looking at pictures earlier. Everybody from Joe Louis to Bill Wallace. I mean, you name it, straight down the line. There have been numerous celebrities that have visited. Who are some of the people that you remember over the years that have come to visit, just off the top of your head?
Well, one of my favorites was Don Fry. He was in town doing a seminar, and one of my friends brought him in. Which I always wanted to meet him because I found him to be the most intriguing MMA fighter around. Just about some of the stuff he did over in Japan was intriguing.
Oh yeah.
He was a very interesting man. I've met a lot of different martial artists and different people have come in here. It's just, to name a lot of them, one of the interesting ones was a gentleman who actually trained under Masoyama, and I can't remember what his name is, to be honest with you, but he came in, we had an interesting talk. He did the 100-man fight. He used to actually be a dishwasher.
Wow.
Inside Japan. He actually got his doctorate from MIT,
Wow.
but he had no teeth from no mouthpiece. So when we went down the basement of my old store, and he's roundhouse kicking the steel poles and smashing with his knees, talking about how they strengthened their shins was. that was impressive, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
I can find it out for you.
Well, we talked about the legacy, and again, I was doing business with Don for many years, and yourself and whatnot, and it's kind of a bittersweet interview because as we are here in May of 2018, sadly, Ninja World is going to close as of the 26th of this month. Talk to me about the tenure of Ninja World and as you're preparing to close your doors in this relationship, about what you got out of being an owner in Ninja World, and what you feel it gave to the community.
Well, we can stop back I can do from progress to regress depending how we want to go and state it. Martial arts, when the Karate Kid came out, became very of reverence because there was virtue in it. There was self-introspection. There was things that were learned, and the interesting thing to me was, in any other industry, the elderly were never looked at as being someone of virtue. They get to a specific point, they retire, they go their golden years, and they wander off. Where actually that's the time span where really people put perspectives on what masters are. And with that industry, it was always seeking out, like the term old man, when they used to call it Nick the old man, and different people old man.
Sure.
That was actually a compliment. It's
Right.
not an insult. Some people took it as an insult as an American, but old man was a person of virtue. And they've been through it. Sensei means born before. You were born before, you went through your experiences, and you're passing on your stuff that you've learned to someone else. And with that being said, over the past period of time, through different types of martial arts, and it was always the fads. I remember when I first started, it was about the ninja, and then it went to Taekwondo, then it went to American Jiu-Jitsu, or Jiu-Jitsu like George Kirby type of Jiu-Jitsu, then it was Kenpo, then it went to, the progressions along the lines
Sure.
of the going, then it was
Yeah.
Hapkido, then it went to Aikido, then it was Krav Maga, then it was, it just has a constant progression along the lines, but, people always try to go and get the latest and greatest, just as I don't want to say it's all the same, there's a different spice to every person's style of doing it, but the methodology still keep a perspective that you're going to get to a thing of learning about yourself, and it's very hard to see now where I'm seeing a lot of schools out there where you're getting young people that are teaching, and they're saying that they're teaching leadership, which martial arts is leadership. If you do it right, you're going to get leadership from it. But it's not false leadership, it's actual positive leadership because you've endured. It's about failure. Your failures make you stronger. If you constantly get the trophies, the medals, everybody wins, everyone gets promoted, it doesn't teach them about the hard points. We have to learn to cope. And that is really the hardest part of what I'm seeing now with most of these people is that because people think they can swing a dollar bill in front of somebody and make them become blind to it, it's losing its virtue. And it's to me that the progression along the lines of our country has really made martial arts where we have the capacity, because of the financial perspective, to get the greatest people in the world to come to this country to do it, is now making it where people are trying to get a goal without achieving the goal by hard work. And that's what really makes it. In basic generality, the old term mushin, which means no mind. Basically what no mind is that you're taking a sympathetic nerve function, where I say, I'm going to go and block. But after doing it 50,000 times, it becomes autonomic, like your heartbeat, like digestion. It becomes autonomic. You're not thinking about what thing is, it just happens. But it's done by redundancy, by constant redundancy. I always try to tell people a black belt is superseding redundancy because you have to do it 10,000 times. And then when you think you have to do it 10,000 more times. And with how progression's going and how the industry and life in general is, and how IT is, that a lot of people start to forget about what their communities are about. They're all delving into other things because it's easy. It's easier to order online. It's easier to go and achieve something this way versus doing the opposite. And that is probably the hardest thing that I'm seeing in martial arts right now, is that I've seen some of the most incredible martial arts people that had virtue and would not forfeit anything become blinded by the pursuit of money.
There's so many interesting aspects that you've gone over, and we talk about. I always tell people that learned technique becomes instinctive reflex through repetition.
Absolutely.
And that's the key. And we always say you do it till you're sick and tired of it, and then you do it some more. Another important aspect you mentioned about Mushin, the mind of no mind. It was funny when I was dealing with Ed Parker, and he wrote the Zen of Kenpo. And we were talking about Mushin, and he was like going, he says, what? I said, the mind of mind. He says, the only time the mind of mind is when you're dead. And he brought up, but I brought another interesting traditional one that came, which was like a mind like water. And it always reminded me of that crystal clear, flat, mirror-like image. And then all the activity underneath. And activity, there is stillness, and stillness, there activity. And I think that, we talk about, unfortunately, our Western mentality where we want it yesterday with a side order of fries.
Yes.
And, if my little Johnny or little Susie doesn't get a black belt, I'm going to go down the street to get to somewhere where I will get it. And it's a really sad commentary on modern martial arts and what's occurred. And, the classic phrase, how hard do you want to work for it? Well, I don't want to work hard. Then what are you doing here? And this is the beauty of the art that when we dedicate ourselves to a single art or multiple arts or whatever it may be, the true study of the martial arts and the joy and the rapture that we have in relationship to learning the arts. And another term that as you were talking about immediately came to mind, Master Pan Kung Fu from Iron and Silk Kung Fu Master, about eating bitter. And willing to train and study, and the blood, sweat, and tears that we hear so many times in the martial arts, but we don't see as much as we used to, and that's the key.
Exactly.
Now, again, with you said Dawn opened in 1982.
Correct.
So again, Dave, we're talking about Ninja World, and we're talking about the legacy of Ninja World, and the last question I always ask my interviewees on my show is obviously, what does the future hold for you in regards to the martial arts?
My martial arts, I have a nice solid group of core people that train with me. I train and teach them 3 to 4 times a week. I'll keep with them. I'm going to be underground, and as I always say, I'm in my friend's dungeon. He has a commercial school. Actually, it's where Isshinryu used to do in Warwick Avenue. I'm down in the basement there.
Wow.
I teach down in the basement with some of my students that have been with me for 10 plus years. So we train there, and so along the lines of pursuing of that, I still do that. I still maintain my training and always watching and trying to better myself. I'll do that until the day I die. So that's what the most important thing is. It's just that you have to keep going, and you have to keep on learning and educating and becoming better by whether reading a book, whether it's going online, and whatever it might be, or learning from somebody that you don't know, something foreign. Always keep the mind of the white belt. And that's the easiest way to do it, the humility of a white belt. And that's the biggest thing that you can do.
Excellent. Again, I want to take a moment to personally thank you and to thank Don Benedetto for the creation of Ninja World, to thank you for continuing to perpetuating the legacy of this location. And, for those of you in the Rhode Island area or surrounding New England area, or around the corner, around the world, again, those of you who have benefited from the creation, the continuation, and the legacy of Ninja World. David, again, thank you so much for your time.
Sir. Appreciate it.
And we'll be back with more exciting action here on Martial Arts Today Television. Stay tuned.